Hello Bookaholics! Today I'm going to be reviewing Ignite Me by Tahereh Mafi. Ignite Me is the third and final installment of the Shatter Me series by Tahereh Mafi, and I absolutely adore this series. I picked it up about 2 years ago when Shatter Me was the only book out. Let's just say these past 2 years went by so fast because I cannot believe the final book is out, and I just read it. I finished it in like a day, and I'm really sad that it's over because it felt like it went by way too fast. I'm just going to jump right into the review, and the summary of Ignite Me will be in the description box below, so go check that out. So I'll be doing a spoiler-free section, then a spoiler section after that, so make sure if you have not read Ignite Me, you leave after the spoiler-free section, or else you're gonna get spoiled, and I would hate for you guys to get spoiled because this book is absolutely fantastic. So I really liked Ignite Me. I've always loved the Shatter Me series, and I recommend it to all my friends, and they absolutely adored it too. They actually finished before me, and I'm like, I'm a little bit behind. I should probably catch up because I don't like my friends being finished with a book and then I'm not, then I'm worried about spoilers, and I don't want to get spoiled for a book because nobody wants to get spoiled. Nobody. But I finally finished it yesterday, and literally, guys, this book is absolutely amazing. The pacing's perfect. You know, in final installments of book series, how they can be a little bit rushed sometimes, and authors just cram all this information into one book because they feel like they have to end it there if it's a trilogy, and I really do not enjoy that when an author does that. But Tahereh Mafi did it so perfectly. The pacing was excellent. It kept me interested the whole entire book, and I absolutely adored every single second of it. The characters are just to die for. They're so strong and so powerful, and the character development in this book is absolutely out of this world. Juliet's character development from Shatter Me to Ignite Me is absolutely huge. I am just so blown away by her character as a whole, and I'm so proud of her. I am just so shocked about how far she's come in such a short amount of time. When we first meet Juliet in Shatter Me, she's really shy and she's very traumatized by all the ordeals she's been put through because her touch is deadly. And just seeing her become such a strong and powerful person, not just like physically but mentally, in Ignite Me is just so amazing to see it play out, and so amazing to see her character just develop into this wonderful young woman. Don't get me started with Warner. Warner is not who I thought he was gonna be. Like, honestly, at the beginning of Shatter Me, I absolutely loathed Warner. I was like, I do not like you at all. Look what you're doing. Then in Ignite Me, I'm totally Team Warner. I love him so much, and just he's so vulnerable, and nobody sees that except Juliet, and she really brings out his inner person that he's just been hiding from everybody else, and I think that's really why they make such an excellent pair. And some people are like Team Adam, but you know, I'm Team Warner just because of that reason. And because Warner calls her love. He's like, hello love, what do you want, love? And I'm like, I just picture him like with a British accent when he says that, just because British people say like, hello love, and I just love that so much. I was really worried when I went into this book that I would not remember anything from Unravel Me, the second book in the series, because I read it a year ago. So when I finally jumped into Ignite Me, I understood everything because she really helps you understand what's going on even though you haven't read the book for a while. Usually like you're really scared when going into a third book because you never know what the author's gonna throw at you. You never know which characters are gonna kill off. They never know what characters are going to be rebelling. You never know what characters are going to change from a person you thought they were into a total traitor. And honestly, I was scared when I was going into Ignite Me, but once I read it, I was like, wow. So starting at the beginning of Ignite Me, Warner takes care of Juliet because she got a bullet wound to her stomach because his father, Anderson, put it there. And let me say, Anderson, you're a douchebag. I really hate you so much. And it really just shows the extent of how much he cares for Juliet because he nurses her back to health, and he cares for her even though he knows that she's in love with another man who's Adam. But of course that changes throughout the book, and she falls out of love with Adam, which I think is really interesting to see because she seems so in love with Adam at the beginning of the book series, and then at the end she's in love with Warner, and I'm like, this is just Christmas, but really early, or really late. Depends on how you see it. And finally, the book has come where I'm finally able to be Team Warner without being judged, because when I was Team Warner and like Shatter Me, I'm like, oh, he'd be really good for Juliet. And I know he was doing horrible things. I have a thing for bad boys in books, let's just say that. And I'm like, what if they got together? That'd be totally awesome. And look what happened, they did, and my wish has come true, and I couldn't be happier. So after Juliet gets nursed back to health by Warner, she's demanding that she goes and sees what's left of Omega Point because Omega Point is destroyed. It got destroyed in the battle they had with the reestablishment, and everybody is assumed to be dead. But she has to see for herself because she really needs to see this for her own eyes in order to believe it, because just hearing it from Warner isn't enough, so they go and see Omega Point. But what they find there is not really what they expect, because they end up running into Kenji, and I love Kenji so freaking much. It's not even funny. Kenji is like the best friend I really want to have. Because he is so awesome, and he is invisible. He has invisibility. Who does not want that? Did anybody else think it was so cool when Warner went and took some of his power, Kenji's power, and made himself invisible? Like, I honestly forgot that Warner actually had that power. I knew that he had some sort of really cool power, but I kind of forgot it from the last book. So once I saw this, I'm like, oh, that's what he can do. That is pretty awesome, because he can have a little bit of everything, everybody's powers. But it's still really sad because Omega Point is like a hole in the ground because they got bombed. And it's really horrible what they did because there's men, women, and children, old and young, all in that Omega Point who couldn't go out on the battlefield and fight. And all of them sadly died because the real establishment is a big freaking... So once we found out that Kenji's alive, I am so relieved because I knew that like they can't really die because that wouldn't be a great premise for the book if like everybody died except Warner and Juliet. Then I'm gonna be like, oh, what was the point of this book then? But of course, there's at least 9 survivors, and that includes Adam, James, and Kenji, and Castle, who is the leader of Omega Point, but he is in total shell shock. Like, he doesn't really know what's going on. Like, he's really just not there in the mind because he was the leader of Omega Point, and Omega Point is now destroyed along with all his people. Like, how would you feel? Like, I would feel responsible for that. Honestly, that's just like, I couldn't imagine that, so I definitely understand why he was just sitting there like a blank board. I freaking hated Adam in this book, and he wasn't even in it that often, and I was like, okay, good. I was never your team anyways. He was just so rude to Juliet. Like, he was like, oh, well, I'm your boyfriend. And she's like, no, I broke up with you. Didn't you notice? Stop being delusional. And he was trying to like control her, and that's not what you do with a girl who can freaking whoop your ass. Like, she can punch you and you could go flying through the wall. Like, don't mess with her. Do not put words in the mouth that she did not say. Can I just say how cute it was when Warner went and picked Juliet up after she spent the night at Adam's house with everybody having their little slumber party, and how Adam was like just yelling at her and being all rude and just transforming into this monster that I never knew would exist in himself. Like, he was so rude, and I never would have expected that from Adam, but he really changed as a character. That was one of the character developments that he took not 2 steps forward, but like 20 steps back. When Juliet really wanted to get out of that room, she just wanted to leave, how she's clicking the button and waiting for Warner to show up, and when he finally did, like, he showed up like minutes later. Like, where was he? Was he like camped outside? Like, that was really quick. It was just so sweet how he just ran and he's like, are you okay? Are you okay? And nobody else in that room has ever seen Warner like that because Warner is a very closed off guy. He seems literally like stone cold. So I love how Warner like shows his character development by saying, okay guys, you can come back to base with me and I'll train you and I'll give you some living quarters and you'll have hot baths and showers and whatnot if you train and fight with us. And he's like, okay, I don't really care about your well-being, but I care about Juliet's, and Juliet cares about your well-being, so I might as well help you guys out. One of the scenes that just really got to me was when Warner, he was in his office and Juliet walks in on him and he's shirtless. He's trying to put this like cream on his back because of the whip marks from his father. And just like listening about that story about what his father did since he was 6 years old up until he was 19, like how old he was now, is just so heartbreaking. Anderson, come here so I can beat the crap out of you. Let's see how you like that. Oh yeah, Sasha's coming after you. Be scared. Wacky. I feel kind of bad for Warner because he puts his heart right out there for Juliet. He wears his heart on his sleeve. Not really, not in front of other people, but in front of Juliet, yes. But she was falling out of love with Adam during this time, and when she fell out of it from him, I'm like, girl, you're finally getting your head together. You're finally seeing that Warner's the guy for you. And I was really happy that she saw that, but she wasn't ready to admit it yet because I think she wanted to see who she was as a person, and she wanted to adjust to this new lifestyle of her power and what she can hold before she jumps into another relationship, because she's being a smart girl at that and not jumping into something she's not ready for. So the whole entire plan of capturing Sector 45 and drawing Anderson out to them, because he's on a ship in the middle of nowhere. I hope there's a freaking iceberg or a tidal wave that goes and knocks your ship over. I want that Titanic to happen to you. But I think this plan is very logical, but I'm surprised that Anderson actually fell for it. Like, he should have thought like, oh, they want to draw me out, and of course they are, but he doesn't stand a chance because they have a freaking girl who's Juliet, and she's like the Hulk, but she doesn't turn green. I wish I could do that, but then I don't because I'll probably crush everything around me. That would not be good. Honestly, when Juliet says she's going to rule the nation and she's going to rule after she kills Anderson, I'm kind of shocked because I don't really picture her as the ruler type. I don't picture her as like the commander of the nation. I just don't see that because she's like 17, 18 years old. She'll definitely need help from her friends. But I was just a little shocked. I'm like, girl, is this really what you want? But I love her courage and her strength for like going for it and achieving it at the end, because that's really just so amazing to see that this plan actually working. Nothing really failed in the plan like it would in other novels, and I was kind of really happy about that. Nobody died except Anderson. He deserved it. So there wasn't a lot of action in this book besides like the training and the ending fight scene, but you know what? Usually that would have bugged me a little bit when there wasn't that much action in a book that's like mainly based on action in the previous ones, but I really liked it because I did not want a book that was going to be like crammed with information, and I really liked how Ignite Me did not force too many things on you. Like during the training, I love seeing Juliet's character develop these powers she never knew she could have, and she learns how to control her killing touch, and she learns how to turn it off and on, and that just like shows how many things we did not know at the beginning of Shatter Me and how many things that we do know now. So when Warner says he's going to be visiting his mother, I know something's gonna go down. Like, I know that something's not right because his mother is sick. She's been sick for a while now. And I know in the back of my mind that she's going to be dead. She's going to die. And when she finally confirmed that she did die, I was just felt so bad for Warner. Like, he was never even told that his own mother died. Like, what sick bastard was his father? Like, his father must have known that his wife died, but he obviously did not care enough to tell Warner. And that just made me so pissed off because not knowing that your own mother died, like, and just finding out by going to her house on her birthday and not seeing her there. No, that's not okay, Anderson. Warner really just showed that right then and there. He broke down, his shell cracked, and he really just showed that he is a person that cries, he is a person that has emotions, and he does love people, and one of his loved ones did just die. Like, I couldn't imagine not knowing my own mother died. Like, why didn't Anderson tell him that? Like, that is such a douchebaggy move to do. I don't know if you guys know this, but sadly, a year ago, my own mother passed away, and just seeing Warner break down like that with such raw emotion is so true to what it actually is. Like, you're not okay. You don't just like walk away from this. It's such a traumatic experience. I feel like usually authors kind of downplay a parent's death sometimes, and I really, really hate that because that is not realistic. And I like realistic raw emotion in books because that makes you feel more for the character and kind of get them as a whole. And honestly, Tahereh really like nailed it right there. She nailed it so much, and I just love that because she knows how to express emotion in books. And that is what a good author does. They don't sugarcoat things, they say things as they are, and that's what readers like. So annoying in this book. Like, he has transformed into a totally different person. Like, I just am so shocked. Like, he is just screaming all over the place. He's like such a Debbie Downer, and I just really don't like him. I just want to like flick him off the page. Like, go away, Adam. Nobody cares. Stop whining. Stop PMSing. Go take a Midol. So once Juliet, Warner, and Kenji get back to the base, guess what? Adam is a douchebag again, and he is extremely PMSing in this book. He is so annoying. He is so rude to Juliet and to Warner and like everybody else except James, and literally I want to give him a Midol and a tampon because he obviously is on his period. It picks me off so much in this book. I really just want to slam his face into a wall because honestly, his character development just like plummeted. Every respect that I ever had for him in the previous books just went away, and I would feel bad for him that the love that he had before with Juliet just like was whisked away right before his eyes, but I don't feel bad because he is such a douche to her. Like, you don't do that if you want to win a girl back. Like, that's not gonna get the girl to come running back to you. I'm sorry, dude, but like, you need some relationship advice, like, pronto. But when he actually touches Juliet's hand to Kenji's hand to prove a point, I wanted to punch him myself. And once Kenji does punch him and he like goes away, I'm like, finally, somebody punched the douchebag. Somebody punched him because he deserves it. Adam, you deserve it. Like, he did not know if it could kill Kenji, that touch. And that just makes me so mad. But then again, it did prove a point that Juliet can touch people. And that does count as something because Juliet's power can be turned off and on. And she did not know that before. So that was a valid point to that. But the way that it was brought out really just ticked me off. Like, Adam, was that really necessary? How about you just like don't do that. Don't threaten Kenji's life. If you threaten Kenji's life, Sasha's gonna come after you. You don't want me coming after you. I will get you. I will get you. But when Juliet finally gets to the realization that she can love anybody she wants without having that conflict of, touching them and they die, like other than that, she can love whoever she wants. And she finally notices that she really does love Warner, not just because she can only be with him without any consequences, but she actually truly loves him. And that like made me cry. Like finally, my ship is coming together. I love them so much. And just like seeing that like just play out, that she goes upstairs to him and she finally tells him in chapter 55, I was so happy to see all their little like mingling play out. I was just so happy that their relationship finally came together, because before it was not forced, but it was not natural. Like in the first and second books, like the first book he was a total like dictator. He's like, I'm gonna be a big bad guy. And then the second one he was kind of redeeming himself. Like chapter 62 was very nice. And then in this book he finally just showed who he is as a person, and I am just so happy because chapter 55 was beautiful, so beautiful, and I can't get enough of that, because chapter 55, if you have read it, they have some sexy fun time in it. And also in chapter 58, and I may have read those chapters like a couple times because it was so beautiful how it was, and it was so cute. Okay, honestly, the book title is kind of like a spoiler of the whole entire book, like Ignite Me. That's kind of like Warner Me. Gotta Warner me, and then Warner kind of Warnered Juliet. So it's kind of like a spoiler a little bit, because like why would they have Ignite right there? That is the same tattoo as Warner's as the title if Warner doesn't come out on top. So I kind of expected Warner to like get the girl, but you never know in these young adult novels. You never know. The character development in this book series is fantastic. Like it's up there with Vampire Academy and all those good novels. The big conflict in this book was that it turns out Warner and Adam are brothers. They're half brothers. And that means James is Warner's half brother. And it turns out that Warner has a family after all, that he thought that he lost all his family after his mom died. And just seeing like how he finds out that Adam is his brother. Like he has family, he has two brothers. He lost a mother, but he gained a brother in the same week. And I just thought that was such a strong line, because it's true. And really, they hated each other, Warner and Adam. Like they hated each other. They tried to kill each other. Warner really deserves a family, and Adam and James are definitely two people that can show him that familial love that he deserves. I hope. I think James can. Adam might be a little bit tricky to actually get them brotherly, but I didn't expect anything bad to happen to Warner or Juliet, because when they said goodbye to each other, they didn't really say goodbye. In certain books, like before a big battle, like the two people that love each other in the book are like, oh, I love you so much, I'm gonna miss you, even though you're going one way in the battle, I'm going another, because I'm going on an almost suicidal mission. You guys know what I'm talking about. And I hope I don't die. And then it turns out, oops, somebody dies. So when Juliet and Kenji get on the ship, I love how she just like pushes 200 soldiers into the water. It's like, okay, there you go. I'm just gonna push you off, bye-bye. But then when they got on the ship, Juliet loses Kenji, which I don't get how that happened, because didn't they just go down the same like ladder thing? Like I don't get how that happened, but I guess it did, because they're both invisible, so. But you know what, I was actually quite curious as to where Kenji went. I'm like, Kenji, did you ditch her? That's not what a good friend does. But of course he didn't, because he actually was the one who found Anderson first and found Sonia and Sarah first. I just think it was so cool how Juliet just like jumped through the floors of the boat. Like, bam! And usually, if that actually happened in real life, if somebody actually jumped and they fell through the floorboards, I would suggest to them maybe lose a few thousand pounds, because that shouldn't be possible, especially in a military vessel. Those would hold a lot of metal. But how Juliet did that, she's just such a strong person. That's so cool. So Juliet is being shot at by guns, and she only has like this like carbon fiber material on her, like this cool awesome suit, but she is technically invincible. And I just think that's so cool how like the bullets just roll off her. She's like, stop shooting at me, that kind of tickles. So then Juliet actually finds Sonia and Sarah. I have to remind myself, oh yeah, Sonia and Sarah, I forgot about them. They're actually the main reason for this trip. Then Sonia and Sarah tell her how Kenji went a few rooms down, so Juliet goes there and she ends up getting blasted by waves. Not actual literal water waves, but like sound waves, and ouch! But she ends up killing the guy who was throwing the waves at her, and you know what, it's just shocking because I knew she had it in her to actually take life, but it was on her own terms and not by her power that she didn't know how to control. And Kenji's on the floor unconscious, and I'm like, oh my gosh, please be okay, please be okay. I cannot take a death. I love Kenji so much. Her killing Anderson was so fast. Like, I didn't really expect it to be like that quick and done because I thought there was going to be a huge speech and a huge scene where it's very dramatic and the controversy. But nope, and Anderson is timely shooting her in the face with bullets, but of course she's invincible, the bullets don't hurt her, and Anderson's like, oh shit, this is not going to go down all right. So she grabs his ankles and she just crunches them, and then he's like in pain, and I'm like, good, you're in pain, you should suffer. You made your son suffer. And so she kills him, and I thought it was going to be a little bit slower. I thought there was going to be a huge speech, but it turns out, no, she just shoots him in the head. And you know what? It's done and over with. She gets Kenji, and they get out of there. So once Juliet gets back to the battlefield, and her people are congratulating her, praising her, it's so amazing just to read about because they respect her, and they're not afraid of her, and they're touching her skin, and they're not getting killed. It's just such a powerful scene. And then she's looking for her friends, and she's really worried that she doesn't see any of them. Then they emerge one at a time. The last one to come out is Warner. I was a little bit worried. I'm like, where's Warner? He's not here yet. But the scene kind of like ended abruptly. I was kind of shocked that it was just like, okay, they're on top of a roof looking down at people. Done. Cut. And I'm like, oh, now what's gonna happen? Because the ending kind of was really abrupt, and there's still some unanswered questions. I would really like them to be answered. So I'm wondering if there's going to be another like spin-off series about this world and everything, because I would like to know if Juliet and Warner finally win over the reestablishment and destroy all the bad people in it and turn it into an amazing world that they deserve. But those are kind of unanswered, and I think either Tahereh wants us to answer it ourselves, or maybe there's going to be another book. I would like another book because this series is absolutely fantastic. I loved it, and I'm so happy because of the ending, because it was a happy ending. So thank you guys for watching my review. I hope you enjoyed it, and tell me your opinions on Ignite Me in the comments below. I would love to know what you thought about the book. I give Ignite Me a 5 out of 5 stars because it's just so amazing, and I just want to keep reading more. I want more Warner. I want more Warner.